Hello and welcome to my little Sunday video. This time again we speak about Studio 2023 of Insta360, but not how to configure things under the hood in the text files. But this time I will go into deep about the changelog for the latest version, which was just released and now is version 4.6.6. Small note, please remember this download site for at least one camera. You find an overview about Mac, Windows version, LUT files, also which versions of third-party software, firmware and app. And on one of these pages you see an overview about all cameras, so you can jump to the individual software for each camera. But as I said, this time it's all about the latest update, and the changelog is small but nice. The first point is we have a new style for the GPS dashboard, and that's a graphical style. We have the ability to edit each element individually, and we have now an option to do a photo animator like we knew it already from the app, but in a little bit different style. I guess if you see, you will like it. So at first we go to the GPS dashboard. So I've prepared some files, and if you start Studio and have these elements enabled, you see the default first style. What is changed? I can no longer change the font by my editing in the configuration files, but that's not so bad at all. So if you start the GPS dashboard in common mode, you're on the basic tab, and you already see you don't have only the first style, which was the default up to now. You now have a second graphical style. It's more round, colors are a little bit different, placement is different, styles like the compass rose a little bit tiny. So you have to double click this general style to enable it. You cannot mix style 1 with style 2. You have to decide which one to use. So that was the first point. The second point is the ability to individually edit the elements. This means you can not only change the attributes on the Advanced tab, like in this time when I select the opacity and the color, it changes for all elements at once. But I can also select an individual element by simply clicking on it, which is very intuitive. And I can also use a multi-select by string on the PC and the related key on the Mac. And if I do that, I can select groups of elements and manipulate it, move them around, change their size, change their color, on an individual style. And this allows a very free placement of individual elements, changing the size just in the preview, and changing the rotation by an element you may know from image editors, and you have the degree up there in the middle to control and on the slider. So each of these elements can be dragged to where you want it and dragged to the rotation you may want. And if you have something too much there, you can reset it on an individual basic, or just click reset and all goes back to the default place and default color. So a nice additional feature is this vignette. As you see, the text for the coordinates are good at a good readable style. If I disable the vignette, it's hard to read because they are some type of white before a bright background in my video. And if you enable the vignette, you get a light gray touch add the surrounding of your image on your video, and by that all those elements are very good readable. And as you see, select one element, change the color, and you're free to edit. It's a nice way to change the colors. It's much easier than to go to the config files and edit the value there. That's something I really like. And maybe Insta will also add the third style, or will publish what kind of files we need to do our own graphical elements. That would be really, really great, but maybe in the future. So that was the first point. The second point, the third point, is a photo animator. Like you already knew it from the app, you can animate a photo to do rotation, to do different views, and to use keyframes. This is now also in Studio2023 in version 4.6.6. This was a DNG, a pure shot image I took a few days ago. You can disable the pure shot style there and re-enable it. And as you see, this is a 360 photo, which I can manipulate as you already know it. What's new to this is the above animator. So that's the standard editing, you know, the animator. This brings you a view on the photo with a timeline. And the timeline is by default set to 30 seconds. Here you can change the display aspect ratio as you know it already from the normal video editor. The duration for the timeline can be changed just by clicking the edit icon. You can decrease or increase it. I set it now to 15 seconds. And then you are free to set key points, keyframes, like you would do it in a video. So the first, I place it here right at the front. Now you can let it play or just jump to the location where you want to place the next keyframe. On a still photo to let it to playback, it's a little bit boring. So I just jump to the place, set the next keyframe. Third keyframe goes to a kind of inverted tiny planet. So, and as you note, I'm nearly at 180-degree turn to the right. Now, we are used to have positive values. If I turn on the compass rose from 0 to 180 degree, it's a positive value. For some reason, Insta thinks it's the minus reason. So keep that in mind if you compare those values. Sometimes it's a bit tricky. If you edit it by clicking in and typing the values, a plus 180 would be a turn to the left. Now, what makes this animator different from the animator in the app is that you can change the style of the transitions between keyframes. You can click on these thin lines, they come selected, and then you can select the characteristic of the movement. These types of fades have a little pause there, they do something faster and the other part slowly, or a continuous movement. And if you change that, you get a different style. Now, that this is a little bit jumpy is on my laptop, the graphical unit is not the fastest. So, yeah. But I guess you get an idea what that changes. And I'm sure you have used it already on your videos, but just to mention it. So, overall, those little points in the changelog are really nice to work with. It gives you more editable freeness in the process and speeds up the workflow. It's much faster to edit the colors individually in the graphical interface of Studio than to close it and go to the XML files. And also here, do the animation, have the choice of frame rate between 60 and 30 FPS, choose your codec, change resolution for the export. Yeah, it's really, really handy. So try it out. have fun, give some feedback. I'm sure Insta will listen, and let's see what we get in the next version.